Welcome to another installment of Writer's Block. I am Kerry Lonsdale. You probably know me best from my Everything series, which is above my right shoulder here. I also have a couple standalones, All the Breaking Waves, which published in 2016, and below that Last Summer, which published last summer. Anyway, Amazon invited me to chat with you today about what I have been doing during stay in place, how I've been keeping busy, namely how I have been keeping my own creative spark ignited. We'll get to an excerpt of Side Trip, which is my upcoming novel that publishes this July. And for those of you looking to ignite your own creative spark, I've got a bag of tricks for you. Welcome to my workspace. Right now, I'm on deadline. My work in progress, No More Words, which is the first book in a brand new series, is due to my editor in 2 months. To say that I am in panic mode is an understatement. For those of you who work from home, you understand that when you're on deadline, nothing is more important than routine. So, as long as I get up, do my hair, get dressed in my fancy clothes, including my 4-inch heels, as if I'm going to the office. I sit in this big, gorgeous chair, work in front of my picture-perfect, always organized bookcase. I am guaranteed that my words will flow like this. I work from home. I'm used to having the entire house to myself throughout the day. Self-isolating is not something that's new to me. It's what I do when I'm on deadline. In fact, I can go days without having a coherent conversation with my family. I can go days without showering, which is why you are lucky I am here in a shirt and jeans today as opposed to my flannels, because I came that close to wearing my pajamas. I'm going to be honest. It has been very hard for me to find that creative spark for me to focus with everything that's going on inside here and outside there. And it took me a while to realize that it's okay. And I need to be okay with that, because the creativity will come back, or we'll get used to a new routine. And I'm sure you are going through the same struggles and facing the same challenges. And so to make it real, that's okay. So I will be reading an excerpt from Side Trip. As I mentioned, it's my novel that's coming out this July, and it features California girl Joy Evers and singer-songwriter Dylan Westfield. Both are carrying a lot of baggage and traveling Route 66. They meet at a diner halfway between LA and Flagstaff. So I'll be reading the excerpt from when Joy first sees Dylan there at the diner. And in order to read it, as I said earlier, we need to be real. Ludlow, California, a tall drink of water. Joy never contemplated the meaning behind that idiom. She never considered using it to describe a guy. The expression was archaic, something her grandmother would have said, or Judy, given that it was dated slang and her older sister had loved everything retro, specifically anything circa 1950s. But then Joy saw him. Now she couldn't think of a better way to describe the man she'd been watching through the window. She felt parched, her mouth dry. It could very well be from ogling the gorgeous sky with the heather gray, sweat-drenched t-shirt and stone-washed jeans that fit him way too well as he bent over the engine of his beat-up Pontiac Bonneville, rather than the triple-digit dry heat baking the asphalt and everything alive outside of Rob's diner, where Joy had stopped for a cheeseburger and fries, food Judy would have ordered if she'd had the chance to take the trip. Joy sucked her cherry coke through a red-striped plastic straw and watched the man outside. He straightened, wiped his forearm across his glistening forehead, and looked east down the sprawling stretch of Route 66. She didn't know how he could stand the desert heat. August in Ludlow was brutal, and Tall Drink of Water guy had been tinkering under the hood of his Pontiac for well over 40 minutes. He'd arrived right after Joy had been seated at a window booth. She liked watching him, which was a first for her. She didn't ogle guys. She was engaged, but no harm, no foul. She was only looking, and he was certainly more entertaining than what she'd intended to do during her lunch, plan which items she'd crossed off that day on Judy's Route 66 bucket list. She also liked the way the man's shoulders rippled under the thin material of his shirt. She liked the color of his hair, a brown so dark it almost looked black, even under the blazing summer sun. But then he ran his fingers through the thick mass, and she caught some golden highlights. He wore his hair too long to be called short, where the ends curled up off his neck. He had a nice wave that he finger-combed off his forehead. Indie rocker style, Joy thought. He reminded her of a young Chris Cornell, the way his hair flopped back and he gave his head a shake to move it off his face. She wondered what color his eyes were and almost pouted that she'd never get to find out when he closed the hood, sank into the driver's seat, and started the car. After a couple of chokes and coughs, the engine finally turned over. He eased the car forward, pulling more fully into the parking spot he'd aimed for when the car had died the first time. He drove 2 feet, and the engine sputtered and died again. Tall Drink of Water guy sat there for a good 5 seconds when he suddenly snapped. He smacked the steering wheel 3 times. He then got out of the car, slammed the door, kicked the door, then kicked the front tire. Joy struggled to keep a straight face. Giving up, she grinned and shifted her attention to the list on the table in front of her, musing that he was about to go ape, as Judy would have said. Ape bleep was more like it. Honestly, she felt sorry for the guy. She'd hate to be stuck out here with a broken down car. For the first time since she decided to take this trip, she silently thanked her dad for insisting on the 2010 Volkswagen New Beetle rather than the 1955 Plymouth Belvedere she'd been researching to purchase for her cross-country trip. But her parents bought her the convertible Bug as a college graduation gift. It was reliable and safer, her father had said, upset she'd consider driving an old car in the first place, especially after what had happened to Judy. A twinge of guilt rode up her back like a tailgater on the highway. It always did when she thought of her sister. Joy munched on a cold fry to rid the sour taste in her mouth and returned her attention to the man outside. Flustered, he shook his fist at the sky. Then, to Joy's amusement, he flipped off the blazing sun. Who was he so pissed off at? God, the universe, or some other poor soul? And that, my friends, is an excerpt from Side Trip. I hope I enticed you enough. Let's talk at-home creativity. I know firsthand it is hard to find that creative spark, especially now. So I've got some tricks for you. Trick number 1, booty in the chair. Don't fight it. The words will come. Trick number 2, go for a drive. On second thought, we can't. It's not an essential errand. We'll just sit in the car instead. Trick number 3, take a walk. Fresh air does wonders, clearing the head. Now that we've ignited your creative spark, hopefully I have got a writing prompt for you. So this one is inspired from the excerpt that I read in Side Trip. You've got 2 strangers who meet at a diner. Do they interact with each other? Why are they there? What sort of emotional baggage are they carrying? Do they exchange names? Do they exchange contact information when they leave? Will they ever see each other again? Bring in the setting and the weather. What sort of tone do they evoke? So go ahead and write that down. write a short scene, write an entire novel, and if you are brave enough to share, be sure to tag me. Well, that's it. That's my time for today. Thank you, Amazon Publishing, for inviting me. Thank you, readers, for watching and hanging out with me. Stay safe, be well, create, read, and take care of yourselves.